AA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
This rookie is Jimmy Cables in the number 00. And this rookie is Lane Locke, the Synergy number 5 car. Terry Carcass will replace Kenny Shiftright as the Triple Dent Gum Racer. Rex Revler is also another rookie, replacing Sage Vanderspin in the number 80. Brian Sparks, who covered Claude Scruggs for most of last season, is also a rookie this year. Tommy Highbanks is also the new racer for four-wheel drive. Parker Breakston will also be a rookie this year, replacing Manny Flywheel as the N2O Cola racer. Rev Rodages, who had some starts last season, will also be a rookie this season, alongside Scott Speed, who is a new rookie. Max Carpus is also a rookie this season, and he'll be the number 13. Greg Speedland will now be on a full-time schedule, and he's a new rookie this season as well. Samuel Serpentino is also a rookie this season, alongside Elijah Voltson, who is now the number 37, alongside Chad Motorgas, who is sponsored by Black Ops Drills. Who's this racer? Slate Granger is also a new rookie this season, alongside Aston Reynolds in the number 27. There's another rookie, and this rookie is called Matt Splatloper in the number 63. Matt Virulent is also another rookie this season, alongside William Crashton in the number 407. Ray Clutcher is yet another rookie, and he's also the number 99. Eric Ismond will also be a new rookie this season. Jason Overdrive, who had a few starts last season, will also be a rookie this season, alongside Jeff Revenberg, who seems to want to be Jeff Corvette. Phil Smith will also be a new rookie this season, he has no sponsor, alongside Zachary Axler. I think he's Aiken's cousin. Another new rookie is Slide Miller. Who? And also, Ryan O'Tire, who is now the number 40. And also, another new rookie is Dominic Lugnut, who's sponsored by Pizza Planet. We have yet another rookie, Jack Blindspot, in the number 14. We have Tyler Drivewell, I hope he's not as bad as his older cousin. And also, Will Gas Hood. I'm sorry, who? We also have Mike Parker, someone's heard of him. And also, Sam Shifter. Who is he? But at least someone would know who Thomas Sanders is, as he raced in Piston Cup Australia. And we're finally on the last rookie, being Joey Lagirno, who has a new look, alongside Tony Gasworth in the number 14, Jeff Corvette, Carl Edwards, Matt Carzit again with the new looks, Ryan Newcar, Jeff Burnton, his teammate Clint Bokar, Mark Carton, Juan Pablo Montoya, Elliot Draftler, Brick Hicks, David Rudikar, David Raycar, Casey Gears, Reed Sorenkar, Ricard Smith, Bobby Carboni, AJ Carmendinger, Paul Racedraft, David Stremrim, Dave Laney, JJ Traley, Mike Wheelhouse, and his younger brother Kenny all have new looks. Now into the new racers. One of them is Brad Karslowski, who has a part-time schedule this season, and Marcus Kranksler also has a part-time schedule. Both are expected to go full-time in 2010. Sterling Carlin also has a part-time schedule this season, but unfortunately, he'll be retiring at the end of the season, alongside Eugene Komareski, who probably won't be wrecking any more cars, Kevin Shiftright. Why are you retiring now? Winford Bradford Rutherford, Lee Revkins, Ruby Easy Oaks, Slider Petrolski, Aiken Axler, Patrick Carparquier, Aikens, Clarkson, Medford, Riley, Zach Zepson, Bashman, Gwenther, and Suregrip will unfortunately all be retiring at the end of the season. Luckily, Mark Carton is back, and he's racing a full-time schedule. Now onto the teams where Pancake Shift Right Racing has 12 cars? How does any team support 12 cars at once? And Rush Fenway Racing has 9 cars, including Danny Kerbin. Earnhardt Carnassi Racing is a team merger between Chip Carnassi Racing and Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. Now it's one big team. Strip Weathers Racing expands to 9 cars as a result of multiple team mergers, which is why Reed Soren Car and Casey Corner are on the same team. Chevrolet Motorsports only has 4 cars, just trading Casey Gears for Mark Carton. Richard Chill Paints Racing also has 4 cars, where the majority of the cars have new looks this season. Speedson Racing, well, nothing changed from last season, and Vitalin Racing also had no changes, and they're more Team Revolting than Team Vitalin. Blaster Charger Racing somehow still exists. Joe Gears Racing doesn't have Tony Gassford anymore. I'll explain that in a bit. Alloy Wilson Racing adds Jimmy Cables to the team, and Lane Locke replaced Rudy Washtire in the number 5. Dynaco Motorsports now has 3 cars, with Cal's cousin Hank and Brick Hicks. Gasswort Haas Racing is why Tony Gasswort is no longer a JGR car, because Tony Gasswort has his own team alongside Gear Haas, and Ryan Newcar is also on the team. Michael Cartrip Racing only has 2 cars now, with Michael Cartrip and David Rudikar. Red Bull Racing still exists, and Scott Speed joins the team. The Anti-Chick Hicks team also still exists, with Kyle Traxon as the owner. The Wood Brothers Racing still only has Speedy Comet. Motorcraft isn't even there anymore. Lucas Nitro Racing still has only Lucas Nitro. Furniture Row Racing still exists, but Recar Smith is their primary car. Soldier Fortune Racing is a new team with Chad Motorgas as their only racer. Rest in peace to the other teams I did not mention in the video, because they all went out of business. Hopefully, their employees have found a new race team to work for. But unfortunately, Chick Hicks and his younger brother John will both be suspended for the first 10 races of the season because during qualifying they cheated! Also during qualifying, Parker Breakston had a crash, which means that now he'll be out for the first 2 races. Martin Carrix Jr. will start at pole position for the 2009 Florida 500 with Mark Carton to his outside, hoping for a good race. Row 2 has Jeff Corvette and Kyle Bushtire, who many cars don't like these days. Row 3 has Tony Gassford in his first race for his new team, and Cal Weathers, the defending champion. Row 4 has 2-time champion Lightning McQueen and Juan Pablo Montoya to his outside. Row 5 has Joey Lagirno and his teammate Denny Carlin to his outside. Row 6 has Bobby Swift and Brick Hicks, making his first Florida 500 start. Row 7 has Kurt Bushtire and Dale Earnhardt Jr. to his outside. Row 8 has Casey Corner and Carl Edwards, who barely missed out on last year's Piston Cup. Row 9 has Ernie Gearson, who's still racing, and Brick Yardley to his outside. Row 10 has Chip Gearings and Murray Clutchburn to his outside. Row 11 has Jamie McCarry and Clint Bokar. Cars have very low expectations of these two. Row 12 has Hank Weathers, How? And Kevin Shiftright making his final Florida 500 start. Row 13 has Mike Yankee Jr. and Jeff Burnton to his outside. Row 14 has Michael Cartrip and Jimmy Cables, the rookie, to his outside. Row 15 has Rex Revler and Elliot Draftler to his outside. Row 16 has Todd Marcus, who did not skip qualifying, and Kevin Carvick to his outside. Row 17 has David Raycar and Lane Locke, another rookie that qualified for the Florida 500. Row 18 has Greg Beeple and Ryan Newcar. Why are they back here? Row 19 has Eugene Komareski in his final Florida 500 start, and Jack DePost to his outside. Row 20 has Matt Karzith and Bill Racelot, who qualified. Row 21 has Brian Vickers and Slider Petrolski, also making his final Florida 500 start. And starting in 43rd is Speedy Comet. And way too many cars failed to qualify for this race, with TG Castlenut qualifying 44th. Now onto the race. Martin Carx Jr. would lead for the first 2 laps of the race before he'd lose the lead to Mark Carton, who would only lead on the 2nd lap. But then Kyle Busch takes the lead, and then he goes on to lead for exactly 50 laps before Lightning McQueen would take the lead from him, leading until lap 53, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead from him. He'd lead for about 2 turns before Tony Gasworth would take the lead from him, leading until lap 68, where Jeff Gorvette would take the lead from him, leading all the way until lap 81, where Kevin Shiftwright would take the lead from him, leading for 30 laps before Brick Hicks would take the lead from him, leading until lap 122, where Lightning McQueen would retake the lead. He'd lead all the way until lap 146, but Joey Logano is 17th as of lap 139, where he wrecks Chip Gearings, Brian Vickers, Hank Weathers, Kyle Busch, he's your teammate, Todd Marcus, and himself. Why are you wrecking other cars? And he also somehow wrecked out himself. Matt Karzith would take the lead on lap 146 and lead until lap 159, where Lightning McQueen would retake the lead. He'd lead for 20 laps before Cal Weathers would take the lead from him, leading until lap 186, where Kevin Shiftwright would take the lead from him, leading until lap 195, where Tony Gasworth would retake the lead, leading for 11 laps before Bobby Swift would take the lead for the first time this race, leading for just 2 laps because Denny Carlin would take the lead off of pit cycles. But after pit cycles are done, Jeff Gorvette would retake the lead, leading until lap 214, where Lightning McQueen would once again retake the lead, leading for 4 laps before Ryan Newcar, the Rocket, would rocket into the lead. But on lap 220, Rex Revler would be out because of an engine failure. Brick Hicks would take the lead after the restart, leading until lap 227, where Bobby Swift would once again take the lead. He'd lead until lap 230, where Lightning McQueen would once again retake the lead. He'd lead for 17 laps before Jeff Gorvette would once again retake the lead, leading until lap 249, where Lightning McQueen would be back in the lead, where he'd lead until lap 256, where once again Jeff Gorvette would take the lead from him. He'd lead until lap 261, where Cal Weathers would take the lead from him. He'd only lead for 2 laps because Kevin Shiftwright would take the lead on lap 263. And only 2 laps later he'd lose it back to Cal Weathers, who only leads for 2 laps. And then Tony Gasworth would take the lead for 2 laps before Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading for more than 2 laps, leading until lap 276. 1 lap earlier, Eugene Komareski would be 32nd as of lap 275, where he wrecks Jamie McCarry. Why? Kevin Shiftwright would take the lead on lap 276, then lose it 11 laps later to Jeff Gorvette, who would lead until lap 290, where Brick Yardley would take the lead from him, leading until lap 291, where Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading until lap 292, where Matt Karzith would take the lead for himself when everyone else is pitting. When everyone else is done pitting, Cal Weathers would take the lead for himself, leading for 5 laps before Bobby Swift would retake the lead, leading until lap 299, where Tony Gasworth would retake the lead, leading until lap 303, where Lightning McQueen would once again retake the lead, leading for 6 laps before once again Jeff Gorvette would take the lead from him, leading for 9 laps before his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. would take the lead for himself, leading until lap 327, where Speedy Comet would take the lead for 2 laps, but on lap 328, he would have an engine failure! Oh no! Which means he's out! Tony Gasworth would take the lead after the restart, and then lead all the way until lap 364, where Cal Weathers would take the lead from him, leading until lap 367, where Bobby Swift would once again take the lead, leading until lap 369, where Lightning McQueen would take the lead from him, leading until lap 376, where Jeff Gorvette would once again take the lead, leading for 10 laps before Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading until lap 408, when Kevin Carvick would take the lead for the first time this race, leading for just 4 laps before he'd lose it to Bobby Swift, who would lead until lap 419, where Kevin Shiftwright would take the lead for himself once again. But on lap 421, Tony Gasworth would be back in the lead, leading until lap 425, where Mark Carton would once again take the lead, leading for 2 laps before Lightning McQueen would be back in the lead, leading until lap 454, where Tony Gasworth would once again take the lead, leading until lap 483, and then Jeff Gorvette would take the lead from him, leading until lap 485, where Tony Gasworth would retake the lead, leading until lap 498, where Matt Karzith would pass him on the low side, and he'd lead the final lap to win the 2009 Florida 500, with Tony Gasworth finishing second this race, losing by slightly over 40 feet. Kevin Shiftwright would finish third in his final Florida 500. Lightning McQueen would finish fourth in this race, and Kevin Carvick would round out the top 5. Clint Bocard finished 6th, Brick Yardley 7th, Bobby Swift 8th, Ernie Gearson 9th, and Elliot Draftler rounding out the top 10. And here is the top 20 of the race, and the standings as well, because the Florida 500 is the first race of the season. But rookie Jimmy Cables finished 18th in the 2009 Florida 500. And Morag Clutchburn finishes 20th, despite not being in the top 20 for most of the day.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Sorry this video took almost 3 months to release onto YouTube, but the 2009 Piston Cup races 2 to 35 Part 1 will be coming out very soon.
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Kyle Busch Tire will start at pole position for the second race of 2009, where he wrecked too many cars! Why? Jeff Burnton would lead for the most laps, leading for 72 of them, but Matt Karzith will win 2 races in a row, winning the second race of 2009. Kyle Busch Tire, the mean yellow car, would finish second, Clint Bocard third, Jeff Burnton fourth, and Lightning McQueen rounding out the top 5. David Rudakar will start at pole position for the third race of 2009, where Slate Granger will accidentally cause a crash. Mike Yankee Jr. would somehow avoid the crash despite being right behind it. Jeff Gorvette would lead for the most laps, leading for 115 laps this race, and he wins the third race of 2009, finally breaking his winless streak, with Lightning McQueen finishing second right behind him. Who finishes third? Greg People does. Tony Gasworth would finish fourth, and Cal Weathers would round out the top 5. Mark Carton will start at pole position for the fourth race of 2009, where Joey Logierno would wreck too many cars! Why, Joey Logierno and Danny Kerbin will now be out for the season! Kurt Busch Tire would lead for the most laps, leading for 270 of them, but Lightning McQueen would pass him with 2 to go to win the fourth race of 2009, where Kurt Busch Tire would finish second, only losing by 6 feet. Jeff Gorvette would finish third, Kevin Shiftwright fourth, and Brick Hicks rounding out the top 5. Lightning McQueen will start at pole position for the 5th race of 2009, where Tony Gasworth would wreck Kyle Busch-Tire and Joey Logierno on lap 7. Hooray! He wrecks cars that wreck cars! And Tony Gasworth says you're welcome to Piston Cup fans. Luckily, the rest of the 41 cars would finish on the track and 38 on the lead lap. Lightning McQueen would lead for the most of those laps, leading for 109 of them. And he easily wins the 5th race of 2009, where Cal Weathers would finish a distant 2nd, Bobby Swift 3rd, Mark Carton 4th, and Tony Gasworth rounding out the top 5. Kevin Shiftwright will start at pole position for the 6th race of 2009, where the only caution is that Samuel Serpentino accidentally wrecked Slider Petrolski and himself on lap 81. Bobby Swift would lead for the most laps, leading for 147 of them, but Rex Revler will get his very first win with the 6th race of 2009, where he sings this song after he wins. Lightning McQueen would finish 2nd this race, Brick Yardley 3rd, Floyd Mulvihill 4th, and Jeff Gorvette rounding out the top 5. Tony Gasworth will start at pole position for the 7th race of 2009, where Joey Logierno would be out on lap 2 because he missed the turn. His teammate Kyle Busch-Tire would wreck too many cars! Eugene Kobareski says this is the last time that you will wreck other cars. And he's 16th as of lap 431. Now, who exactly was he saying it to? Kyle Busch-Tire, who's now out! And Kyle Busch-Tire says this: "Don't say that word!" Cal Weathers would lead for the most laps, leading for 107 of them, and he would go on to win the 7th race of 2009, where Tony Gasworth would finish 2nd, Lightning McQueen 3rd, Mark Carton 4th, and Bobby Swift rounding up the top 5. Eugene Kobareski finished 14th, but he was cheered as he crossed the start-finish line for what he did. Lightning McQueen will start at pole position for the 8th race of 2009, where Sam Shifter would be out on the first lap because of an engine failure. Phil Texan said something very mean, and he was suspended for the next race as a result. Kyle Busch-Tire would once again wreck too many cars, and Ryan Newcar would go airborne on lap 185 because of Joey Logierno. Why? Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 62 of them, including pole. But Mark Carton will get his first win since 2004 with the 8th race of 2009. Jeff Gorvette, his rival back in 1998 and now teammate, would finish 2nd this race. Lightning McQueen finished 3rd, Tony Gasworth 4th, and Kurt Busch-Tire rounding out the top 5. Lightning McQueen will start at pole position for the 9th race of 2009, where Joey Logierno would accidentally wreck David Rudikar and himself on lap 107. Now his teammate Kyle Busch-Tire would once again wreck too many cars. 2 cars would share the honor of leading the most laps this race, these 2 cars being Lightning McQueen and Jeff Gorvette, who both led 93 laps each. But Lightning McQueen was the better of the 2 as he won the 9th race of 2009, with Jeff Gorvette finishing in 2nd, Brick Hicks 3rd, Kyle Busch-Tire somehow in 4th, and Juan Pablo Montoya rounding out the top 5. Kevin Shiftwright would start at pole position for the 10th race of 2009, where Eugene Kobareski would retire from the race due to fatigue. Kyle Busch-Tire would wreck 3 cars! Why? His teammate Denny Carlin would lead for the most laps, leading for 72 of them, but Bobby Swift will be the winner of this race, winning the 10th race of 2009 with Denny Carlin finishing in 2nd, Jeff Burrington 3rd, Lightning McQueen 4th, and Kevin Shiftwright rounding out the top 5. Number 5, Mark Carton will start at pole position for the 11th race of 2009, where, oh no! The mean green car, Chickix, is back! And he wrecks too many cars! Tony Gasworth would be 20th as of lap 392, where he wrecks the mean green car Check-X, which means, hooray! Tony Gasworth wrecked the mean green car. The mean yellow car, Kyle Busch Tire, led for the most laps, leading for 378 of them, and he wins the 11th race of 2009. Right! His teammate, Denny Carlin, would finish second, Lightning McQueen third, Jeff Gorvette fourth, and Casey Corner rounding out the top 5. The Rocket, Ryan Newcar, will start at pole position for the 12th race of 2009, where Check-X DNQ'd the race. Hip hip hooray! Went Piston Cup fans. Eugene Kobareski once again retires from the race due to fatigue. But the other 42 cars would all finish on the lead lap. Unfortunately, Kyle Busch Tire would lead for half of the laps, leading for 200. David Rudakar would somehow win the race, winning the 12th race of 2009, getting his very first victory. Ryan Newcar would finish second this race, Chip Gearing's third, Kevin Shiftwright fourth, and Carl Edwards rounding out the top 5. And here is the top 20 in points, with Lightning McQueen having a 30-point lead over Jeff Gorvette, and Tony Gasworth not far behind. Defending champion Cal Weathers is 4th in points right now, and Kyle Busch Tire only recently got into the top 10, slightly ahead of Ryan Newcar, who's now 10th. Matt Karseth sure fell from winning the first 2 races in a row to doing terribly in the last 10 races. We'll see how the other 2/3 of the season goes. But Mark Carton is in 19th, rising from way below the top 20 after the Florida 500. Maybe he could try to finally win a Piston Cup.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Why? Joey Logano, why are you already wrecking other cars? Maybe Kyle Busch Tire has been a bad influence on Joey Logano, making him wreck other cars. And how does David Rudakar randomly win the pole for the 3rd race and the 12th race? How? And the second part of the 2009 Piston Cup races to the 35 will be coming out soon enough. Now onto something more serious. A single day after I released the 2009 Florida 500 video, Russia invaded Ukraine. Now Ukraine is suffering in a war, an unjustified war declared by the Russian government, headed by Vladimir Putin, who shall suffer the consequences of disrupting peace. We must stand with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Tony Gasworth will start at pole position for the 13th race of 2009, where Check-X would wreck too many cars, and then Eugene Kobareski would wreck the mean green car and himself on lap 92. Carl Edwards would lead for the most laps, leading for 103 of them, but Tony Gasworth will be the winner of the 13th race of 2009. Carl Edwards would finish second this race, Jeff Gorvette third, Kevin Shiftwright fourth, and Cal Weathers rounding out the top 5. Bobby Swift will start at pole position for the 14th race of 2009, where Check-X once again wrecks too many cars, and Kyle Busch Tire would lead for the most laps. With 1 to go, Brad Keselowski is second, where Carl Edwards would go airborne and into the catch fence because of him on the final lap. And here is an image of Carl Edwards going airborne. And this makes Brad Keselowski the winner of the 14th race of 2009, giving him his very first win. Dale Earnhardt Jr. would finish second this race, Ryan Newcar third, despite the fact his hood's covering his eyes, Kevin Shiftwright would finish fourth, and Brick Hicks would round out the top five. Unfortunately, Jeremy Carfield has a career-ending crash before the 15th race, where Eugene Komareski somehow won the pole. Ryan Thunderbolt Jr. is now out for the season on lap 20 because of the Mean Green Car Chicks, who will be suspended for the rest of the season because of what he did. Another mean car, Kyle Busch Tire, would wreck more cars. Why? And Eugene Komareski is now out because he got too exhausted. Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 172 of them, but Greg People, oh no! He'd run out of fuel with one to go. And this makes Lightning McQueen the winner of the 15th race of 2009, with Brick Yardley finishing second, Mark Carton third, Jeff Gorvette fourth, and Cal Weathers rounding out the top five. Lightning McQueen will start at pole position for the 16th race of 2009, where Joey Logano would wreck too many cars, and Lucas Nitro would be out because of an engine failure on lap 237. Kyle Busch Tire would wreck himself out on lap 257. That's karma. Mark Carton would lead for the most laps, leading for 198 of them, but he goes on to win again, winning the 16th race of 2009. And he says to celebrate every win like it's your last. His teammate Jeff Gorvette would finish second this race, Casey Corner third, Tony Gassworth fourth, and Denny Carlin rounding out the top five. Cal Weathers will start at pole position for the 17th race of 2009, where Slider Petrolsky would be out on lap 57 because of an engine failure. Kevin Shiftwright would get flipped on lap 176 because of Kyle Busch Tire. Why? And then he would go on to lead the most laps, leading for 171 of them, and Joey Logano, his teammate, would win the 17th race of 2009, getting his very first win. His teammate Kyle Busch Tire would finish second this race, Murray Clutchburn would finish third, Juan Pablo Montoya fourth, and Mike Yankee Jr. rounding out the top five. Tony Gassworth will once again start at pole position, but this time it's for the 18th race of 2009, where Chip Gearings would be out on lap 2 because of an engine failure. Tommy Highbanks would accidentally wreck himself on lap 18. 18 is the number of Kyle Busch Tire, who wrecked more cars. Tony Gassworth would lead for the most laps, leading for 100 of them, including pole. Kyle Busch Tire is in the lead on the final lap, but Tony Gassworth is second as of the final lap, where, here's what Daryl Cartrup says, Busch Tire on the wall, here comes Gassworth to the checkered flag, and here's what happened. Tony Gassworth wrecked Kyle Busch Tire on the final lap to win the 18th race of 2009. Lightning McQueen finished second this race, Denny Carlin third, Carl Edwards fourth, and Kurt Busch Tire rounding out the top five. Mark Carton will start at pole position for the 19th race of 2009, where Joey Logano would once again wreck too many cars, including his teammate Kyle Busch Tire. Why? Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 120 of them, and this makes it easy for him to win the 19th race of 2009, where Mark Carton would finish second this race, Cal Weathers third, Tony Gassworth fourth, and Greg People rounding out the top five. Kevin Shiftwright will start at pole position for the 20th race of 2009, where Kyle Busch Tire would once again wreck too many cars, and Ryan Newcar would go airborne on lap 296 because of Todd Marcus. Why? But Todd Marcus apologizes? Turns out he's actually a good car. Kevin Shiftright would lead for the most laps, leading for 301 of them, including Paul. But Mike Yankee Jr. will be the winner of the 20th race of 2009, with Chip Gearings finishing second, Kevin Shiftright third, Brick Yardley fourth, and Bobby Swift rounding out the top 5. Tony Gasworth will start at pole position for the 21st race of 2009, where David Raycar would go into the catch fence on lap 64 because of Kyle Busch tire. Why? Cal Weathers would somehow lead some laps with his eyes closed. How? But just like his uncle, Joey Logano would wreck Jeff Burnton and Jamie McCarty on lap 108. Why? But then Mark Carton would lead by 10 seconds on lap 113. Kevin Carvick would lead for the most laps, leading for 69 of them, but Casey Corner would somehow win the 21st race of 2009, where Kevin Carvick would finish second, Juan Pablo Montoya third, David Rudikar fourth, and Mark Carton rounding out the top 5. Lightning McQueen will start at pole position for the 22nd race of 2009, where Marcus Krexler would accidentally wreck Joe Brakecheck and himself on lap 4. And then Phil Takeson would be out on lap 12 because of an engine failure. Slider Petrolski would accidentally wreck 3 other cars and himself on lap 167. And then Ryan Newcar would go airborne on lap 383. And Kevin Carvick is now down 2 laps as a result. Tony Gasworth is now out on lap 394 because of Kyle Busch tire. Why? And his teammate Joey Logano would wreck other cars. Why did you listen to Kyle Busch tire? Kyle's older brother Kurt was in the crash, and oh no, Kurt Busch tire, don't say that word! And somehow Kevin Carvick is back on the lead lap with 1 to go. But Kyle Busch tire attempted to wreck 3 other cars on the final lap, but Eugene Karboreski is unfortunately out next race because he exhausted himself too hard when he tried to wreck Kyle Busch tire. Cal Weathers would lead for the most laps, leading for only 40 of them, and Jamie McCarty will be the winner of the 22nd race of 2009, and also the race ended under caution. Casey Corner would finish second this race. Joey Logano unfortunately finishes third. Kevin Shiftright would finish fourth, and Greg Beeple would round out the top 5. Tony Gasworth had this to say because of all the crashes. Bobby Swift will start at pole position for the 23rd race of 2009, where Kyle Busch tire would lead by 10 seconds on lap 8. But T.G. Castlenut would have an engine failure on lap 10. Unfortunately, his race is over. But Chip Gearings would accidentally wreck a bunch of cars and himself on lap 27. Much later in the race, Kyle Busch tire would be out on lap 264 because of an engine failure. Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 176 of them. And Brick Hicks will get his very first win with the 23rd race of 2009, being helped by his teammate Cal Weathers, who finished second this race. And also, Lightning McQueen finished third, Casey Corner fourth, and Mark Carton rounding out the top 5. The King is very pleased with how the race went. Jeff Corvette will start at pole position for the 24th race of 2009, where Jeff Burnton would jump over some cars on lap 18. But number 18, Kyle Busch tire, would wreck too many cars, and Ryan Newcar would go airborne again on lap 275 because of Joey Logano again. Why? Mike Yankee Jr. would say this because he's unable to take the lead. But ironically, Winford Bradford Rutherford would lead for the most laps, leading for 155 of them. But Tony Gasworth still wins the 24th race of 2009, with Lightning McQueen finishing second, where he only lost by 3 feet, with Cal Weathers finishing third, Kurt Busch tire fourth, and Winford Bradford Rutherford rounding out the top 5. And here is the photo finish, with Tony Gasworth only 3 feet ahead. And here is the top 20 in points as of the end of the 24th race of 2009, where Tony Gasworth has overtaken Jeff Gravett to take second spot. Cal Weathers is in fourth, and also Kevin Shiftright's fallen a little bit. But Mark Curtin and Casey Corner are going up the standings. They might end up in the top 10. And Ryan Newkart dropped places because he kept going airborne. And Joey Logierno, what are you doing in the top 20?
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
And that is the second part of the 2009 Piston Cup races, 2-35, the middle of the season, where Tony Gasworth has done plenty of interesting things, and Kyle Bushtire has officially taken the mean car role from the mean green car Chickix. And the third part of the 2009 Piston Cup races, 2-35, will be coming out soon enough. And once again, Slava Ukraini! Unfortunately, Russia is still invading Ukraine. And it's been 2 weeks since my last video. Hopefully peace will return to Ukraine very soon. But for right now, we need to stand with Ukraine against the unprovoked aggression from Putin, who has allowed the suffering of Ukrainian civilians. We must stand with Ukraine as they are in struggle against an unjustified attack. Slava Ukraini! Heroyam Slava!
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Mike Yankee Jr. will start at pole position for the 25th race of 2009, where Kyle Bushtire would once again wreck too many cars, and Eugene Karbareski would be in the lead on the final lap, but oh no! He runs out of fuel! And Lightning McQueen is the car that leads for the most laps, leading for 139 laps this race, and he wins the 25th race of 2009, with Cal Weathers finishing second this race, Casey Corner third, Tony Gasworth fourth, and Mike Yankee Jr. rounding out the top 5. Tony Gasworth will start at pole position for the 26th race of 2009, where Kyle Bushtire would once again wreck too many cars. And Speedy Comet would wreck Kyle Bushtire and himself on lap 182. Jimmy Cables would lead for the second most laps, leading for 91, surprisingly. But Denny Carlin would lead for the most laps, leading for 102 of them. And he goes on to win the 26th race of 2009, with Lightning McQueen finishing second this race, Juan Pablo Montoya third, Kevin Shiftright fourth, and Clint Bokar rounding out the top 5. Bobby Swift will start at pole position for the 27th race of 2009, where Eugene Komareski would accidentally wreck a bunch of cars on lap 332. TG Castlenut would go down 15 laps as a result, and Ryan Newkart would go airborne on lap 373 because of Floyd Moverhill? Why? Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 163 of them, but Mark Carton would win the 27th race of 2009, with Lightning McQueen finishing second this race, Tony Gasworth third, Kevin Shiftright fourth, and Cal Weathers rounding out the top 5. Lightning McQueen will start at pole position for the 28th race of 2009, where Joey Logierno would be out on lap 30 because of engine failure. His teammate Kyle Bushtire would once again wreck too many cars, and he'd be out on lap 344 because of Eugene Komareski. Hooray! You wrecked the mean yellow car! And he says this. Sounds about right. Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 317 of them, including pole. But Mark Carton will go on to win yet another race with the 28th race of 2009, with Cal Weathers finishing second, Lightning McQueen finishing third this race, somehow, Matt Garza fourth, and Bobby Swift rounding out top 5. Jimmy Cables will start at pole position for the 29th race of 2009, where Samuel Serpentino would accidentally wreck a bunch of cars. Brian Vickers would be out on lap 208 because of engine failure. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be out on lap 232 for the exact same reason. Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 116 of them, but Cal Weathers would be the winner of the 29th race of 2009, with Jimmy Cables finishing second and only losing by 6 feet. Tony Gass would finish third, Lightning McQueen fourth, and Jeff Gorvette rounding out the top 5. And here is the photo finish for this race. Ryan Newcar, the Rocket, will start at pole position for the 30th race of 2009, where Brick Yardley says this to the fans. And then Kyle Busch Tire would once again wreck too many cars, and his teammate Denny Carlin would lead for the most laps, leading for 206 of them. Now back to Kyle Busch Tire, and he's first as of the final lap. But Eugene Komareski would wreck the mean yellow car, and now Kyle Busch Tire is out. But Eugene Komareski would go on to win the 30th race of 2009. It may be his final win. Lightning McQueen would finish second this race, Bobby Swift third, Cal Weathers fourth, and Todd Marcus rounding up top 5. And Eugene Komareski has this to say after his 9th career victory. Kyle Busch Tire says this: "Of course, you're the mean yellow car!" And once again, Lightning McQueen will start up front, starting at pole position for the 31st race of 2009, where Joey Laguna would wreck Todd Marcus, Jack DePost, and himself on lap 26. And Lightning McQueen would go on to lead for 392 laps? How does any car lead all but 8 laps in a race, including pole? How? Let's see how everyone else did. Only 9 cars finished on the lead lap. And of course, Lightning McQueen is the winner of the 31st race of 2009. How does a car dominate a race by that large of a margin? He also won the race by 35 seconds! How does any car win a race by that much? And Jeff Gorvette would finish a very distant second, Tony Gass would finish third, Cal Weathers fourth, and Mark Carton rounding out the top 5. And here is what the Hudson Hornet had to say about Lightning McQueen's dominance this race. The next race, the 32nd race of 2009, will be started by Mark Carton, and then Kyle Busch Tire would be removed from the race on lap 12 because his entire team quit. Elijah Voltson would be out on lap 18 because of an engine failure. And Lane Locke would accidentally wreck Kevin Shiftwright and himself on lap 84. Denny Carlin would be out on lap 189. And now he has this to say: "Well, you've still got some years ahead in your career. I think you can win a championship." Someone that has won a championship is Lightning McQueen, who would go on to lead for the most laps, leading for 103 of them, and he wins the 32nd race of 2009, once again winning by over 10 seconds. Tony Gass would finish second this race, Cal Weathers third, Bobby Swift fourth, and Jeff Gorvette rounding out the top 5. Brian Vickers will somehow start at pole position for the 33rd race of 2009, where Kyle Busch Tire would once again wreck too many cars, and his older brother Kurt would wreck Brick Hicks on lap 109. Why? And David Raycar is now down 10 laps as a result. Doug Throttleman would wreck Kurt Busch Tire on lap 146, and oh no, Kurt Busch Tire! Don't say that word! Lightning McQueen would lead for the most laps, leading for 133 of them, but Cal Weathers would also lead 133 laps, meaning that they both led the most laps this race. But Cal Weathers would go on to win the 33rd race of 2009, with Brian Vickers finishing second, Jeff Gorvette third, Dale Earnhardt Jr. fourth, and Carl Edwards rounding out the top 5. Ryan Newcar, the Rocket, will start at pole position for the 34th race of 2009, where Jeff Revenberg asks why there's no Play-Doh. By the way, this is what Play-Doh is. How do cars play with that? Anyways, Kyle Busch would actually not wreck other cars. Good job. But Casey Gears would accidentally wreck some cars and himself. Kevin Shiftwright would lead for the most laps, leading for just 71 of them, but Mark Carton will get his 5th win of the season, winning the 34th race of 2009, where Kurt Busch would finish second this race, Denny Carlin third, Jimmy Cables fourth, and Cal Weathers rounding out the top 5. Mark Carton will once again start at pole position, but this time it's the 35th race of 2009, where Kyle Busch would once again wreck too many cars, and his teammate Denny Carlin would lead for the most laps, leading for 299 of them. But out of nowhere, Brick Yardley would go on to win the 35th race of 2009. Denny Carlin, lacking a chance to win the Piston Cup, would finish second, Kurt Busch would finish third, Jeff Gorvette fourth, and Mark Carton once again rounding out the top 5. And these 4 cars, Lightning McQueen, Tony Gassworth, Jeff Gorvette, and Mark Carton, all have a chance of winning the Piston Cup in the 2009 Dynaco Light 350. But let's be real here, Lightning McQueen is probably going to win the Cup because he's over 30 points ahead of Tony Gassworth. After all, Tony Gassworth, Jeff Gorvette, and Mark Carton are going to need a miracle to even win the Piston Cup because of Lightning McQueen's points cap over the rest of the field. But who's going to finish second? That's a good question. Now on to cars that can't win the Piston Cup this season, but they were pretty close. Denny Carlin! Cal Weathers still has a chance to finish in the top 3 this season, but he can't win the Cup, unlike the top 4. Kevin Shiftwright will be racing his final Piston Cup race in the 2009 Dynaco Light 350. Bobby Swift is here because he's always competing to finish in the top 5. I already talked about Denny Carlin not winning this year's championship, but Kurt Busch, who's currently 9th in points, is guaranteed a top 10 points finish.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Also, Lightning McQueen became the 21st car to win 40 races in the Piston Cup, which include many legends and the Mean Green car. But anyways, the 2009 Dynaco Light 350 will be coming out soon enough. And questions for anyone in the comments. Who do you think will finish second in the 2009 Piston Cup season? And do you think Cal Weathers can finish in the top 4? But unfortunately, Russia is still invading Ukraine. It's been 1 month since the invasion has started. But Putin refuses to back down in his invasion. Why must he do this? It's causing unnecessary suffering. We have to continue to stand with Ukraine in their struggle against the Russian invasion. Vladimir Putin must be held accountable for his actions! Slava Ukraini! Heroyam Slava!
KA Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Starting at pole position is Lightning McQueen, who's looking for his 3rd Piston Cup, and Darren Ledfoot will start on his outside. Row 2 has Cal Weathers and Mark Carton, both hoping to finish in the top 3 in points this season. Row 3 has Tony Gassworth, the car that's currently 2nd in points, and Kevin Carvick, who's outside. Row 4 has the Rocket, Ryan Newcar, and Greg Beeple to his outside. Row 5 has Brick Yardley and Clint Bokar to his outside. I don't know why though, but in row 6, we have Jamie McCarry and Kurt Busch-Tire, who will finish in the top 10 no matter what this season. Row 7 has Bobby Swift, who's hoping to win the race, and Martin Carx Jr. to his outside. Row 8 has Rex Reveler and Brick Hicks, who surprised everyone this season. Row 9 has Moray Clutchburn and Kevin Shiftwright in his final Piston Cup race. Row 10 has Bobby Cabani, who's qualified for his first race at the Motor Speedway of the South since 2004, and to his outside, Jeff Corvette, who's won the Piston Cup twice before. Row 11 has Elliot Draftler and David Rudikar, two cars who have had seasons we didn't expect. Row 12 has Juan Pablo Montoya and Carl Edwards, who went airborne in the 14th race of this season. Row 13 has Casey Corner and Jeff Burnton, who is having a bad season this season. Row 14 has Brad Karslowski, who won the 14th race of this season, and Ernie Gearson to his outside. Row 15 has Todd Marcus and Kyle Busch-Tire! I hope he doesn't wreck anyone. Row 16 is T.G. Castlenut and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's having a terrible season this season. Row 17 has Brian Vickers and Matt Karseth, who's also having a bad season. Row 18 is Joey Logierno! Why did he follow Kyle Busch-Tire's examples? And Jimmy Cables to his outside. Row 19 has Eugene Karbareski making his final start, and Denny Carlin to his outside. Row 20 has Michael Cartrip, who has not won since 2003, and Jack DePost, who's never won at all. Row 21 has David Raycar, somehow, and Chip Gearings, somehow back here. And starting in 43rd is Mike Yankee Jr., who's had terrible qualifying this season. And these 10 cars, among many others, failed to qualify for this race. Now onto the race, where Lightning McQueen would lead for the first 32 laps before he'd lose the lead to Tony Gasworth. Tony Gasworth would lead until lap 52, where he'd lose the lead to Kurt Busch-Tire, who'd lead for 3 laps, then somehow lose the lead to Kevin Carvick. Kevin Carvick would lead until lap 63, where Tony Gasworth would retake the lead, leading until lap 85, where Kevin Carvick would once again take the lead, leading until lap 134. Unfortunately, Kyle Busch-Tire would be 15th as of lap 116, where he wrecks Todd Marcus, T.G. Castlenut, Elliot Draftler, and Moray Clutchburn. Why? Kurt Busch-Tire would take the lead on lap 134, leading until lap 157, where Denny Carlin would take the lead from him, leading until lap 180, where Darren Ledfoot would take the lead from him. Darren Ledfoot would lead for 18 laps before Jeff Burnton would somehow take the lead from him, leading until lap 217, where Brick Yardley would take the lead from him, leading for just 3 laps before Darren Ledfoot would retake the lead for himself, leading until lap 222, where Denny Carlin would once again retake the lead, leading until lap 251, where Darren Ledfoot is back in the lead for 6 laps because Lightning McQueen would retake the lead, leading until lap 268, where Denny Carlin would once again retake the lead, leading until lap 275, where Cal Weathers would take the lead for the first time this race, leading for 9 laps, but unfortunately, Rex Reveler would be out on lap 284 because of an engine failure. After the restart, Darren Ledfoot would take the lead, leading until lap 302, where Bobby Swift would take the lead from him. He would only lead for 2 laps because Tony Gasworth would retake the lead, leading until lap 309, where Lightning McQueen would take the lead for himself, and he'd lead for the remainder of the race to win the 2009 Dynaco Light 350, where Kevin Shiftwright would finish 2nd in his final race, Denny Carlin would finish 3rd, Darren Ledfoot 4th, Mark Carton 5th, Jeff Burnton 6th, Kevin Carvick 7th, Jeff Corvette 8th, Carl Edwards 9th, and Kyle Busch-Tire would unfortunately round out the top 10 of the 2009 Dynaco Light 350, and this means that Lightning McQueen wins the 2009 Piston Cup, winning his 3rd Piston Cup. Now, let's see the top 40 of the 2009 Piston Cup season. This is Lightning McQueen's 3rd Piston Cup in only 5 seasons, Mark Carton will get his 4th second place finish in his career. Jeff Corvette finished 3rd this season. Cal Weathers, the defending champion, who's no longer the champion because Lightning McQueen is the champion, he finished 4th. Somehow, Tony Gass would plummet to 5th in points. Kevin Shiftwright missed out on the top 5 in his final season. Bobby Swift would finish 7th this season, ahead of Denny Carlin in 8th, despite the fact he continued to complain that he wouldn't be able to win the championship. Kurt Busch-Tyer finished 9th, and Greg People would round out the top 10 in points. Brick Yardley would finish 11th ahead of Carl Edwards in 12th. Juan Pablo Montoya somehow finishes 13th ahead of Casey Corner and Ryan Newcar, who kept going airborne this season. At least he beat Kyle Busch-Tyer in 16th. Matt Karseth had a bad season, finishing 17th, the same as his number. Clint Bokar somehow finished 18th again, 15 points ahead of Mike Yankee Jr., and Brick Hicks would round out the top 20, surprising literally everyone. Beating out Jeff Burnton by 100 points. Kevin Karvik had an even worse season, finishing 22nd. Only a few points ahead of Joey Logierno, who needs to not follow Kyle Busch-Tyer's examples next season. Martin Karks Jr. will have a different crew chief next season as he's changing teams. And David Rudikar somehow finished 25th ahead of Morey Clutchburn, Jimmy Cables, and Chip Gearings. Rex Revler surprisingly finishes 29th ahead of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's had a terrible season this season. Also, Ernie Garrison had an underwhelming season, but at least he beat Jamie McCarry, who finished 32nd. And Brian Vickers finished 33rd, despite having a lot of good finishes. Eugene Karboreski will finish 34th in his final season, beating David Raycar by 6 points. T.G. Castlenut finishes 36th this season, and Jack DePost finishes 37th.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
I forgot to talk about the last 3. Todd Marcus successfully qualified for all 36 races this season, and he finishes 38th in points, ahead of Elliot Draftler, who somehow DNQ'd a few races. And in 40th is Michael Cartrip, who also qualified for every single race this season, despite the fact he finished, 40th. Behind 7 cars that missed at least one race this season. The next season, the 2010 Florida 500 video will be coming out next month, because there's a lot of changes that happen between the 2009 and 2010 Piston Cup seasons. Unfortunately, the war in Ukraine is still going on. It's now been over a month since the war begun, and Vladimir Putin must be held accountable for the crimes that he's committed. The people of Ukraine are still suffering under this invasion, and we must stand with Ukraine against the tyranny of Vladimir Putin. And we need to pray for Ukraine to have peace once again very soon. Hopefully sooner than when the next video comes out. Slava Ukraini! Heroyam Slava!